Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors out on the front porch swing this morning. I want to introduce you guys to a friend of mine. His name's Henry. He's a little heavy, so don't make fun of his size or his weight, please. This is him. This is a H010B model Henry 4570 Golden Boy, big boy. It's got a 22-inch octagon barrel with a 1 in 20 twist. Now, because these guns shoot such a big, heavy projectile, they can't spin up fast, so they have to spin at a fairly slow rate in order to not get issues of too much pressure, so the bullet can get out and stabilize that big bullet. They got 41.1 inch overall length. It is kind of long if you're going to be in heavy brush. It's, you know, longer than like you would be used to with your 30-30s or like with Marlin guide guns that are 45-70. It does have a polished brass receiver that's hardened. Now that's very important. That receiver is just not your standard stock, go pull a piece of brass off the shelf and machine out a receiver. It's been put through a process where it's heated and then worked, and then that brass has been hardened. So it's not just a standard brass. If it was, by the time you shot this gun 100 times or so, the back end of the receiver would be getting pretty well beat down. It's a hardened receiver. The rear sight on these are semi-buckhorn, fully adjustable, and they do have a diamond insert so that if you look down the sight, that you have a reference point to put underneath your sight or center on your front sight. And the front sight is just a brass bead, but like I said, with that white diamond, when you look down the front sight, it gives you a lot more visual picture of something to line up with the center of that bead or at the bottom, so you can adjust your shot for distance and windage by moving the point of that diamond around the circumference of your front sight bead. Helps you when you're shooting through open sights. But with me, I got to have a scope on it, as you can see, and I know that tears a lot of people up to see a lever action gun with a scope on it. But guys, I can't see the sights. I've tried it. It just don't work for me. I used to be able to do it. I used to love shooting open sights. I was the same way. I wouldn't put a scope on nothing, you know, unless it was a high-powered rifle I was going to be shooting that deer at a couple hundred yards, and I hated to do that. You know, I'd usually just go buy bare bones 4-power, just something to help me a little bit see where the sight picture on whatever I was shooting at was, and everything else I'd shoot open sights, 22s and all that stuff, shoot with open sights. But you got to do what you got to do. The scope mount on this is a Weaver 63B. That's the size of scope mounts that you need to put on it if you want to put just a separate mounts. With me, I put a Picatinny rail on there because I kind of like it's a little bit better about being able to spread out the scope rings, and that way I can, when I lap the scope in, I got a lot longer distance to lap the scope through, and it gets a better square fit to the receiver. It has a 14-inch overall length. It's real comfortable to me. I like it. It fits me real well, you know. And I'm a person that kind of likes a shorter pull. You know, some people, you know, that are like guys that are bigger want a longer pull on a rifle. But I like that little short pull. To me, it feels good. I like where it's at. It gives me good eye relief, and it just fits well. You know, it's just, I like the way it sits. The one thing that I don't like, I wish they just would have put a half-cock safety on this thing. I understand the transfer bar is safer, but I don't like them. I'm just glad they didn't put the push safety on them like the old 30-30, some of the old 30-30s have. But there is a transfer bar in the trigger itself that unless you pull the trigger and hold it past the point of release of the sear, that transfer bar won't come up as the hammer closes, so then nothing actually touches the firing pin. It's a lot safer, I agree, but just me personally, I wish that they would have just put a half cock on it and let it be, but at least they didn't put a push button safety. That's one good thing. It has the big loop lever. Now, some of them that they made did not have the big loop. You know, and this is good for if you got going to be hunting in cold conditions and you got gloved hands. It'll help let you get your hand in there. Pardon the car going by. I'm out on the front porch and traffic's going by. But that loop helps if you got gloves on, stuff to get your hands in there. And then a lot of people now are taking the paracord and braiding it and going around them, and it looks pretty cool. Some of them are. I've seen a couple that was even braided out of leather, and I really liked it. And then they had made a leather, like a sock that went over the stock that had some embroidering on it and some bead inlaid and stuff like that. But I'm not much for add-ons. I'm the kind of guy that thinks the gun is a tool. You know, I mean, I buy it to do a specific thing. I bought this to hunt in the brush for deer and hogs. Reason being is because that 45-70 bullet, if you shoot it and it's going through branches and leaves and twigs on the trees, it's not going to deflect because it's so heavy and it's moving slow. It's just going to go right on through and still find the target that you're aiming at most of the time, unless you make some kind of stupid shot where you shoot through 50 yards of just pure thicket. Then you don't need to be hunting anyway. But it's a lot more forgiving when you do make a shot that's in thick cover. I like this one because I want you to look at the wood. I hope y'all can see that real good on this thing. It's got some beautiful knurling. I hope in this light you can see it real good. The stock is brilliantly clean. I love the way the wood on this one was. A lot of folks order specific bright wood and knurled wood for their Henrys and then change them after they buy them. I didn't pay anything extra for what's on this one. What's on this one come out of the box, and I'm very, 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 very happy with it. And the action, as any Henry I've ever picked up, is as slick as glass. I mean, they work so good, and the cool thing about them is that they just get better and better. You know, a lot of lever action rifles get draggy over time, but a Henry won't do that. A Henry gets, I don't know what they did, but whatever they did it right. After you get about 100 rounds through one of these, I mean, they're just, you can do the rifleman roll with a full-size 45-70, and it's not hard to do as long as you don't let go of the loop. You know, I won't do it because I don't want to see my gun fall down on the ground. But for use of what I use it for, it's awesome. It's an awesome gun. Now they do make a model of this that's got the side load gate. This one does not. It is the tube fed. It'll hold 4 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. They list it as that it'll hold 4, but it'll actually hold 5. They don't ever count the 1 in the chamber. But the tube magazine will hold 4. Now, some people say that they want the one with the side load. They're like stupid hard to get. I mean, you can't get them. As soon as one of them hits the market somewhere, somebody snatches it up. I mean, you just can't get them. They don't sit around. And I understand that. They're a pretty popular thing, and it made them to be like the guide gun. But to be honest, it still didn't catch it up with the guide gun. The guide gun is a lot shorter than this, okay? And the guide gun is a lot lighter than this. If you're in grizzly country or moose country and you're going through muskeg and going through waist-high brush and the stuff that you're going to be going through in Alaska or Montana or Wyoming somewhere, hunting grizzly or hunting you know, moose or big elk, and it's an animal that you got to put down if you're going to shoot it, because if you don't, the crazy thing will kill you. That's the whole purpose of the guide guns that was made, so that you had something that shot out an incredibly hard-hitting bullet, which is a 45-70, and in a small package, and could be reloaded quick from the side load. I get that. That's great. That's not what the Henry model was made for. The Henry model was made for hunting east of the Rockies, to hunt in thicker country in big timber, but hunt whitetail, hunt hogs, maybe elk, but not necessarily to get up in the wild country where you may have to deal with a grizzly or a moose. You know, these guns would be great for black bear, I'm sure. And I mean, because you see them in this area, you would get shot, you know, 7,500 yards away. You don't really have to worry about a black bear charging you if it sees you. Grizzly other way around. So that's why the guide gun, in my opinion, fills the niche that needed to be filled for grizzly and moose. This gun doesn't do that. This gun, however, does fit the niche for hunting east of the Rockies much, much better than the Marlin does, because I don't know if you've ever shot a Marlin guide gun, but if you shoot one, you'll remember shooting it. If you shot it on Monday, you'll remember till about Thursday every time you raise your arm, because they'll knock the snot out of you, because they're a lot lighter than the Henry. The Henry's, with this big octagon barrel and that heavy brass receiver, it's a pretty heavy gun. They weigh about 10 pounds, and that causes it to be a gun that absorbs a lot of recoil, so it's not hard to shoot that big 45-70 government round, and it don't beat you up. Now for me, what I've got on this scope, I have a Banner Bushnell optic on it. I had a Bushnell that I'd had forever, and something happened with the zoom ring on the power, that when you would turn it, when it would get to the end of the power, it would actually, sorry about the car, it would actually turn the sight reticle. And then if you went back the other way with the power, it'd turn it the other way. So it was something that come loose inside. I sent it to the factory because they're 100% lifetime guaranteed no matter what. Sent it back to the factory, and they sent me an email saying that instead of repairing my old scope, they were going to give me a new scope, and the one they gave me has a bullet drop compensator on the front that goes all the way up to 400 meters, and the compensator is set up for a 308. But at the time I hadn't thought about putting it on a 45-70, but I did have it on a 308 and tried it when we got it, and it was within a couple of inches of being dead on at 400 yards with a 308. You know, just using, after we zeroed it at 100, and then we twist that compensator up to 400, and it was right there. So, but it's a little light scope, and it has real good zoom, and it has real good focus, has a long parabolic focus. I really like this scope, and like I said, I can't shoot open sights. I just can't do it. So this is what I have to do if I'm going to shoot these rifles. That's why you'll see a lot of stuff that I've got that's got scopes on them, because that's the way I have to shoot them. Even most of my 22s have scopes on them. I could maybe shoot this Marlin through open sights because of that diamond, but if it was low light, you know, getting up close to dark or early in the morning, there's no way I couldn't see the sight, and that's not ethical hunting in my opinion. But guys, I just wanted to show you my buddy Henry here. He's a little chunky, but I tell you what, if you need a door knocked down, he'll knock it down, no matter how big its horns are. But guys, I just wanted to show you my rifle, and maybe the next time I go to the range, I might throw him in a bag and take him with me and dump a few rounds through him. He's only been shot a few times. I don't really like to take him out and shoot him a whole lot unless I'm hunting with him, because I don't want to get him all scratched up. You know, it is a tool, but it's a pretty tool, and I like keeping it pretty right now, especially with the wood that's on it. And whenever you show up at a range and you've got one, somebody's like, hey man, can I shoot that? I never shot one of those, and I'm real careful with it because I don't want the wood scratched up or the brass scratched up, but everybody else might not be that careful with it. So I try not to pull it out a whole lot. I sighted it in here at the house at 100 yards, and it's hitting in a 3-inch circle all day long at 100 yards, and I just left it. You know, I just don't do anything else to it. And when deer season rolls around, if I'm going to be hunting in the brush, I'm going to go up on the mountain over here and get in the thick stuff. This goes on the 4-wheeler. If not, then I'll pull out my 308. If I'm going to be hunting someplace where I know I might get a shot 100, 150 yards and open, then I'll hunt with my 308. Like I said, they're tools, and you got to understand what job you're doing and what tool you need for that job. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. My buddy Henry says, have a good day. Hey y'all, if you don't mind, click subscribe, and if you like the video, and click the like button, and we appreciate every one of y'all, and hope to see you in the next video. It's the Fat Man. I'm gone.